Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Zaranovich. Welcome to part 2 of Open Your Whole Spine. This is the advancement of the Open Your Whole Spine work, so I'm assuming that you have done the original Open Your Whole Spine series several times before you're starting this one. In fact, I recommend every day for about 2 to 3 months of the original Open Your Whole Spine before you start this one. Mostly because this can be too much, especially if you have been dealing with a traumatized body and trauma history, and we've been working our way back down to safety. This could be too much if you're not ready for it. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to tell if you're ready. If you're ready for this work, everything we do will feel good. If it doesn't feel good, or if parts of it feel good but parts of it don't feel good, or parts of you feel good doing it but other parts don't, back up. Go back to the original Open Your Whole Spine video before you start this one. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to just be advancing all of the work that we've already done. So the movements should look familiar. Instead of starting with the super gentle rotation, we're going to bring our hands up and work a stretch. This will be great for neck and shoulder tension, neck and shoulder pain, and you'll notice that my rib cage is rotating quite a lot. I'm pushing my elbows back, I'm pushing my hands forward. It's a big movement and it feels good. That's how I know that I'm doing it right and that I'm ready for this today. It feels good. I'm gonna do between 10 and 20 rotations each side. Just getting some stuff warmed up, some fluid flowing, some muscles pumping a little bit. Again, really tune in. If any part of this doesn't feel good, you don't have to do it today. We're adding new tools to the toolbox, not replacing all of your old tools. Okay, great. The second movement that we usually do with Open Your Whole Spine is the very gentle back and forth. Well, this is the same movement, but now I'm gonna make it bigger. I'm gonna press my heart forward and back. My neck is allowed to follow along, but be careful not to let your neck steer the boat. It's not the thing in charge. It may want to be. Instead, I'm really working to push my heart forward and back. Get a big stretch. Only as much as feels good. And my neck is gonna follow. My low back is gonna follow, but my focus is in my rib cage. Again, 10 or 20 of these to really open up some movement and stretch and challenge the muscles and the joints here. Just a little bit. My heart rate's a little higher. That's great. We're letting the nervous system move toward that fight or flight place. We don't want to get all the way into it. We're just moving towards it. 10 or 20 of those. Whew, feeling different. My heart rate's elevated. How about yours? The third movement that we usually do in Open Your Whole Spine is the gentle rocking around the heart. It's the same movement this time, but I'm going to make it bigger by adding overhead reaches with my arms. Now, the bottom hand doesn't have to cross over. I do that because it helps me stay centered in the middle of my chest. If you want to do just an overhead reach, that's fine, but focus on keeping the movement here in the middle of the chest, not down at the waist. See the difference? Here's down at the waist, but I want in the chest. Rib cage. 10 or 20 rotations to each side. So long as it feels good. Great. So there's the first 3 primary movements. Next, we're going to jump ahead to circles. The image I like to use here is we're making the big circle. This should be familiar if you've done Open Your Whole Spine. It's the thing we work up to. Now we're in it. And the image I like to use is of a mortar and pestle. My hips are the mortar. My spine is the pestle, and I'm just grinding pesto, I guess. But big circles pressing in every direction with the heart primarily. I can feel this in my low back. I feel this in my neck. It feels good. It feels like a little effort. I'm going 5 to 10 circles, big circles in each direction, and then changing direction. I want the circles as big as I can make them, while still making sure that every part of me feels good and no part of me is complaining about it. Let's just do a few more. This next piece is optional. If it doesn't feel good, skip it for now. We'll come back to it later, and I'll explain at the end what it is we're doing and why. But next, you can just shake everywhere. If that doesn't feel good, skip it and go right into some gentle, slow seaweed. But if it feels good, let every piece of you, top to bottom, just shake it all out. Fingers and toes too. Fingers and toes too. Just shake. And then, finally, we come to gentle, slow seaweed. Let's talk about the shaking while we seaweed it out. Every animal with a spinal cord, when it gets into threat response, starts to move towards that fight or flight state. When we get overwhelmed, I can't fight my way out of this, I can't flee my way out of this, we go to freeze. Freeze is the higher level of that threat response. Now, ideally, if we escape the threatening situation that made us freeze, keep seaweeding, if we escape that situation that made us freeze up, on the way back down from freeze, we pass through fight or flight. And you probably have seen animals that get into conflict with each other and then resolve it, do exactly that. They shake top to bottom, and they walk away back into their rest and digest nervous system. But humans sometimes don't allow ourselves, because it's not socially appropriate to shake, or we've trained ourselves out of it, or sometimes we just have to pretend to be fine when we're not fine. And that can, instead of dissipating that fight or flight energy, store it in the body as bracing, locking down, muscles get frozen and stiff, joints get frozen and stiff. We lose fluid movement. So we shake it off because that's what animals do. We finish with seaweed to make sure that we send lots of yummy, easy, innocuous signals to the brain that all of the work we did, all of the movement that we did was in fact safe. Does the seaweed feel soothing? You may hear it in my voice, that my voice has dropped a little bit. Maybe you'll feel your belly soften or your breath widen. Maybe the inside space, the mind and the heart get a little bit quieter and calmer. We're going up the ladder towards fight or flight, grabbing some of that energy that's been stored in our bodies, shaking it off, and then back down to seaweed to soothe the nervous system back to rest and digest, reminding of the way home. I hope you find this helpful. If any part of this doesn't feel good, that's okay. Skip it for today and go back to the original Open Your Whole Spine video. If you have any problems, reach out. Good luck. You got this.